You are listening to the CPA MOMS Podcast with Dawn Goldberg, CPA. This is episode number 200, an interview with CPA MOMS CEO Mayumi Young about why CPA MOMS matters and some exciting things happening. Welcome to the CPA MOMS Podcast, the podcast where busy female accountants who also happen to be moms like you get practical support and solutions you need to have it all, a successful career and a happy family. If you are looking for the solution to overwhelm and mom guilt, if you'd like to feel better and have more balance, as well as learn how to take back control of your life, you've come to the right place. So I wanted to welcome once again, Mayumi Young, the founder and CEO of CPA MOMS. I had Mayumi on the podcast back in the 100th episode, and we were just, hello, we're accountants, we can do math. So that was 100 weeks ago. And so it was around the end of June, beginning of July of 2020. So we're recording this podcast actually on July 15th. And I love the idea of following someone's journey. And it's one of the things that I enjoy talking to the franchisees about and interviewing them is hearing their story. I think that every accountant mom can resonate, every accountant can resonate with somebody's story. And so for anybody who did not have the pleasure of listening to the 100th episode, can you just give us a brief synopsis about your journey to becoming a CPA and then why start CPA MOMS? I know it's a big ask to say, can you give it to us briefly, but
yeah. Okay, let me give you the very short version. So my story about becoming a CPA is really simple. I got an A in my Accounting 101 class. I had a whole bunch of student loans to pay back. And I asked somebody how much accountants made out of college, and voila, my career path as a CPA was chosen for me. I kind of call that my default life. And fast forward about 6-7 years after I graduated, I had a personal, I call it a spiritual awakening of sorts, where I really had to reconcile the meaning and the purpose of my life with how I chose to live that life. And I found that I was in living contradictory to what I felt I was here for. And, if you've ever had an experience like this, it's really one of those moments where I'm grateful for me. It was a way to choose a future path versus being forced upon me through life experience. And I took what I call a leap of faith. I quit my very stable job as a international finance director and had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I really just sort of said, listen, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I know this isn't it. And in that moment, I promised that I only wanted to live my life for both purpose and profit, because I think that money is a great vehicle to magnify a great purpose. And I do feel like my reason for being on this planet is to make a difference and to use my given talents and gifts in a productive way. So fast forward 10 years or so from that moment, and we're at the end of 2008, and the opportunity to create what is now CPA MOMS was presented. And I can tell you that my agreement at the time that I had that spiritual awakening was, if I'm called, I will say yes. And, it comes through kind of intuition, like I'm called to do something. It's kind of like being tapped on the shoulder. It's not obvious. It's not like some big booming voice comes out of the sky or a memo lands on my lap. But it's subtle, but I can identify the signs because I've had 2 other callings prior to CPA MOMS, and I know what they look like and feel like for me. And when I was called, I was extremely resistant because at that point I had let my CPA license go inactive, and I was done being a CPA. I was doing financial empowerment and financial literacy for kids in schools. I was creating coaching programs around wealth empowerment, financial freedom. I was done being an accountant. But I thought that phase of my life was over, only to realize that I was being called to be in service of an industry that I believe was in great need of evolved and innovative thinking. And that's the accounting industry. And it's something that I had been deeply a part of for multiple decades at that point. I'd been a practicing consultant. I'd worked in corporate. I worked in public. I'd done all of those things. And then I was teaching people about money. And I will tell you right now, I resisted it originally, but a couple of things. I worked at Pricewaterhouse early in my career, and a seed was planted because I watched what I call a one-way revolving door with very talented CPA women in public accounting going on maternity leave and never coming back. And so I sort of planted that seed and didn't think about it for 20 years. And then later I was coaching just as a request, a woman who was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years and had kids, and she wanted to get back into the accounting space and she lacked the confidence. So we went to coffee and we had a conversation, and I could see very clearly that it was a confidence problem. And so, between the seed that was planted back in the days of my public experience, plus the experience I had in the coffee shop with this stay-at-home mom returning back to her CPA roots, and working with entrepreneurs around their money for many years prior, it's sort of, I call it the perfect storm. And all of these opportunities to have an impact, not only to the CPA who is a mom, but also to the entrepreneur looking to elevate the quality of their accounting and tax solutions, products, service providers, which I found were not at the level that I had hoped that entrepreneurs would get. It all seemed like this really great opportunity to solve multiple problems at one time. So I accepted the call and I launched CPA Moms on a hunch that if we provided an environment that really offered the flexibility that professional working moms who happen to also be CPAs needed, gave them all the infrastructure and the support and the tools and the training and everything that they needed, could they provide a much higher quality solution for entrepreneurs that couldn't afford to go to the big firms to get the resources that they need? And very quickly, the answer was yes. And so we evolved the business model multiple times. We tried many different iterations, all in the idea of solving for one main question, which is, how do we create an ecosystem? What are all the pieces that are necessary in order to ensure that we can create an environment where professional working moms who are CPAs can have both a family and a firm, where you don't have to sacrifice one or the other? Now, it's pretty easy to help someone build a firm and make money doing that without any consideration for that work-life balance, for the needs to give attention to yourself as well as your family. It's also relatively easy to coach somebody around how to have a great family life and how to have balance in your life without any concern or consideration for building your own practice or making money. But to do the two together is inherently complicated and really challenging. And it took us over a decade to really mess with that formula and really work something out that we feel solves for that. And the reality is there's a reason why our industry is so behind in being able to do that. They're still beating the drum called let's have work-life balance seminars. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, I believe it's a design problem. If your organization isn't designed for that outcome, you're not likely to get that outcome. And so, CPA Moms was designed to produce a result called you can have a family and a firm if you are a CPA and a mom. And that's what we have devoted our last 13 years to focus on, to develop all the infrastructure to accomplish. And we're really excited to talk about that as an outcome. And I'll say this, and I'll just underscore that I personally believe that the work that we do here at CPA Moms is extremely valuable, and it really matters. It matters to the CPA who's a mom, who's had to, if you look historically at what the accounting industry path was, you'd had to give up your dreams for ever being a partner or an owner. You had to put a glass ceiling on yourself because you felt like your career interfered with your ability to have and raise your family the way you want to. You'd have to sacrifice financially and career growth because it lives in a world, or has lived in a world, of you can have one or the other, but not both. It matters that we focus on solving this problem, not only in our industry, but eventually become a model for other industries. Because at the end of the day, as a society and as a culture, not having strong family unit, I personally believe will have a ripple effect of negativity in our society, in our culture that is unimaginable.
Mm-hmm.
And we can have the opposite. We can have a positive ripple effect. Imagine where the children of our society, our future leaders, our future citizens leaders of this great country are raised by their parents, and they have great role models of very successful, powerful, intelligent women as their moms, showing them that they don't have to sacrifice their careers or their talents or their ambitions in order to be successful in the world. And I'm sorry, as a female and somebody who cares about women's empowerment, I care about our youth and what messages we deliver to them through our example and through our society. I think it's critically important that we do the right things around and up-level family empowerment, and that we continue to shatter all those glass ceilings and all those preconceptions about women who are parents, or parents in general, certainly moms, and their ability to continue to elevate themselves to the highest possible levels while raising their families. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And that's why what we do matters to me. So
yeah, I love
that's
that.
my 2 cents. I hope
that's your brief description. Well, you have a lot of history to explain in 10 minutes. I interviewed my children on the podcast. It was the Mother's Day episode, and talked to them about mom guilt, about my guilt that I experienced while I was trying to balance a career and having children. And I'm talking, like, I had my daughter back in 1992, and the way the obstacles that were thrown in my way, I had to fight tooth and nail for every single thing that I got. I worked for Deloitte at the time. I had to really introduce the concept of work-life balance, even though there was a lot of promotion about it and there was a lot in the news about it, whatever. But bottom line was, it wasn't being put into place. And so I had to set boundaries, and I had to do that. And I fast forward 30 years, and I'm like, really, guys, really, we still have this problem? Like, I thought, my generation would be a little bit more of a trailblazer, but I coach women and female accountants, and I speak to them, and it's as if I go right back to 1990 and everything that they had to deal with. And speaking to my children, I think that they helped me, and I hope that the interview helped the mothers that are listening, is that the things that we are so hard on ourselves about in this moment, that we're so worried about, our children are clueless. I mean, I talked about this one story about the bus company calling me to tell me my daughter was left, like nobody was there to pick her up. So it's those things that we don't have any control of, that we think are going to damage our children later on in lives, that really don't. But yet we want to set ourselves up to have that career that we were educated for. We should not give up our education and our dreams just because corporate America hasn't caught up with that. And so I love the idea. I think that every woman should be given the option, and that CPA Moms is like, here is an option. And I want to talk about there's one thing about creating CPA Moms to provide accountant moms with job opportunities, but then you transitioned into a franchise model. Can you tell us what that was about? Why that?
Absolutely. So we had one objective in mind from the minute we opened the doors to CPA Moms, and that was, how do we solve this problem called what's it going to take to have a family in a firm? And we were single-minded about it, which is why we reiterated and changed our business model 3 times in those years. We chose the franchise model because one of the things that's critical to solving this problem and creating an environment where, by design, you can accomplish both, was we had to have an extremely comprehensive and somewhat from behind the scenes complex environment with so many tools and resources, all deployed at exactly the right time and exactly the right way. Think about it. It's like, if you're going to learn how to bake a cake, there's all these ingredients. You can have all the ingredients, but if you don't have the recipe to put them together in the right way, you're not going to end up with the final result. So perfecting that formula and getting that all dialed in required a certain amount of infrastructure and ability to leverage and allow these CPAs who are moms to leverage that infrastructure to have that outcome. Mm. But there's so many laws and rules that exist today that prohibit us from providing the resource that we created unless we operated inside of certain business models. And we were actually not willing to take any piece of the formula away, because we felt that if we took a piece of the formula away so that we wouldn't be out of compliance with franchise law, that it wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. And we were so dedicated and so committed to having the result that we said, well, then if the result requires that all the pieces and ingredients be there, and the only way to have all the ingredients is to be a franchise, then we looked at franchising. And when I looked at it closer, I realized this whole model called franchising is literally one of the most misunderstood and one of the most powerful forms of leverage that exists. When I understood it greater, I realized that when you look at statistically, like take a restaurant, for example, a restaurant that's not franchised versus one that is, statistically, the success ratios are flipped on their head. An independent restaurant owner has about a 10% chance of success, whereas a franchise restaurant owner has about a 90% chance of success. And when you look at all of the reasons behind the power of franchising, you understand that franchising is basically taking a proven system and proven model and deploying that system out systematically to people who do not want to reinvent the wheel. And I thought, brilliant. Why didn't I do this 10 years earlier? Mm-hmm. This is exactly what we need, especially as accountants. I don't know any accountant that enjoys reinventing the wheel. Most accountants that I've met are really intelligent about being able to take and leverage a system and optimize that for themselves. They don't want to sit there and figure all this stuff out. So our ability to provide a proven system, a proven model in the framework of a franchise, which is designed to protect the franchise owner as well as us and the brand, and leverage collectively the brand, the intelligence of other franchise owners. It's a massive community, and working collectively instead of independent. We say you're independent but not alone. I literally cannot think of a better system. And the minute the opportunity presented itself, I was just like, this is the answer. And we actually franchised. So you know, the 100th episode, the interview that we did back in July of 2020, that was right on the heels of just launching our franchise. So we were brand spanking new. And I can tell you, I've been an entrepreneur for over 22 years. I make a lot of mistakes. I could do episode upon episode of every mistake I've ever made as an entrepreneur. But I will tell you one thing, that the choice to become a franchise in order to fulfill our greater mission and our purpose to help CPAs and our moms have a family and a firm was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because it gives us an opportunity to make the difference that we were here to make. And, you know, we have 7 franchise owners right now. Looks like we may have our 8th any day now. And, you know, we've taken our time to really make sure that, one, we're bringing the right people into our community, the right brand ambassadors, as well as being able to devote so much hands-on attention to make sure that every single one of our franchisees has the success that they want while maintaining that work-life balance. We are overly committed in our effort, in our attention there. So I am delighted and excited, and I wake up almost every day for the last 2 years saying, wow, I don't make all the best moves and I don't have all the right answers, but this was one of the best things that we've ever done. And I'm so grateful that this model exists for us and that CPAs can leverage all that hard work and lessons and years of trial and error that you do not have to experience, because we've done it for you and we can give it to you on a silver platter. So that's been our journey, and I'm so happy that we made this transition. It's probably the best decision I've made as an entrepreneur.
It's so interesting because I'm like flashing back to 2 years ago interviewing for the 100th episode, and really how far the whole company has come, how far the franchisees have come. I love interviewing the franchisees, each of them on their journey, how they became a franchise, how they became a CPA, and then why they chose CPA Moms to take their career further and start a firm. And what I love the most, I would have to say personally, is the sisterhood that has been created, that I don't know about you listeners of this podcast, but to have a group of supportive women who want your success as much as you do is a very, very unique thing to have in this world. And it is truly a supportive sisterhood. And like you said, it's independent, but not alone. I love that people have this perception of a franchise. They think McDonald's, where the hamburgers are made exactly the same way and the packaging is exactly the same thing. And we have the only difference my husband said one day was, they put mustard on McDonald's hamburgers in some states, but it's really very cookie cutter. And with a franchise like CPA Moms franchises, each woman has a unique situation. She has a unique family. She has unique challenges, and she has unique vision for her own firm. There's not this one size fits all. And that is what is so amazing, is that you can have it the way you want it. I don't know. Is it Burger King? You can have it your way. Well, really, this is, you can have it your way, of course, within a structure and of course, within certain guidelines and rules, but to have this supportive sisterhood and the independence, but yet the support and not having to recreate the wheel, I think is just an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I would say the word that encapsulates that sisterhood and that feeling that you talk about is care. Everyone legitimately, from our headquarters and our organization at corporate, all the way through every aspect of each franchisee's independent firm, is this feeling of authentically caring for one another. And I've worked in corporate, I've been in public, I've been a lot of places, and I'm sorry, I did not have those experiences anywhere else. And it wasn't created by me. I created the space where it could happen. That was birthed from those CPAs themselves. And, I think we're ranked 38th franchise and entrepreneur.com ratings of franchises. So I think that speaks volume. And I think it's also worth mentioning that at headquarters, our organization, we are almost predominantly female leaders. So there's only 2 out of 10 or so, or 3 out of 10 of our team members and leaders are men. And, I didn't do that intentionally. I didn't go out and say, I'm only going to have female, but I think there's something to be said when the leadership and the folks that actually shape the strategic vision and the culture of an organization live and breathe the very message that we're saying. You have more authentic and true congruency between how it actually looks and feels and what we say that we are, who we say that we are to the world. And I do think it's important to empower more and more female leaders in the world. We're not just creating employment, we're creating employers who employ. We are creating firm owners. So there's so many positive ripple effects. So thank you for saying that. And yes, we absolutely empower each and every person to care for one another. And it's one of my favorite things too. So thank you for adding that.
So now that we're at this 2-year point, what do you see as the vision for the future of the CPA Moms and the CPA Moms franchises?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we talk about a lot is having a 5-year future vision for your life, for your firm, for your family. And we speak very powerfully about the ease that comes into your life when you take your vision and your ideas and you write them down. We have a whole course that we do, and Dawn leads parts of that, where we help CPAs create their 5-year vision. And that was created from the process that I use for every business that I've ever created. And why it's so powerful is that once you create it, you start to get used by that creation, especially if you write it down and share it with other people. And there's so much, scientific and brain psychology research around the power of doing that. And Dawn has a lot of expertise herself in that area as well. And so the 5-year future vision hasn't altered. And I'm saying that not because that doesn't mean we haven't progressed. We absolutely have. We're always learning. We're always growing. We're always adjusting. But once you establish a very clear picture for your future and for your vision, what's most powerful is to stay the course. If you create a vision and then, you're like, well, that was hard, let's go over here instead. And you start ripping it up and start going, you end up chasing your tail and you find yourself not being able to make progress. we underestimate, and I don't know who said this, we often underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years and overestimate what we can accomplish in a year. Mm-hmm. So, having big visions doesn't mean that it all happens. And realistically, it generally doesn't happen the way that we want. Yeah. And so, has everything gone to plan to the 5-year future vision? Absolutely not. But is the vision the same? Yes, we're moving in the right direction and we're learning and growing as we go. So our 5-year vision is to have 500 CPA Mom franchise owners in the next 5 years. And what that looks like and feels like to us is this incredible organization and community of other professional women who care for each other, who are creating employment opportunities, who are serving entrepreneurs powerfully. We can provide a breathing, living, working model of what it looks like. We want to be a global brand. So we want to open up in these next 5 years CPA Moms franchise opportunities in other countries. We have an interest in actually being a for-benefit corporation, and we're already taking steps to become a B Corp. And if you're not familiar with that, I highly invite you to look up B Corp or B Lab, where you organizations can choose to be actually specially organized legally, as well as to get a certification, which is extremely rigorous, and very few organizations have received the certification, to basically put your stake in the ground to say you are a conscious, socially conscious organization. You exist with a mission and you live true to that mission. And we really want to be recognized as being a for-benefit company, and that's part of our plan forward. At the end of the day, our goal is to help our franchisees be successful. Our franchise success is how we measure our success. All of these indicators or goals or visions that we have are really there for us to be able to measure how we're doing. We're just playing this game in life because we can, not because we have to. And at the end of the day, when you have an organization of that size doing the good that we know that we can do on all levels, at the level of family, at the level of the industry, for entrepreneurs and otherwise, for women, then you have this incredible opportunity ripple effect. We as an organization in the next 5 years would love to charitably give $1 million of services and dollars from our collective community. And we want to start moving in the direction of helping each of our franchisees grow to a level of abundance where they have the ability to start providing those charitable gifts with their talent and with their resources, as well as our organization. So we have this vision of having a massive impact, and every single franchise owner that we serve, that's one more family and their children that we feel is forever positively impacted by the opportunity to be raised by their mom. So the vision is the same. The process is, always ever evolving and changing, but we're right on course for where we want to be.
So one of the things you just touched upon, and I want to highlight it, is not only is CPA Moms affecting the lives of the CPA franchisees, but those franchisees are hiring other CPA moms. And the ripple effect of that is what I see. My vision is that these franchise owners become an example of what's possible. And so not only will they be able to employ other CPA moms, but those CPA moms may want to then become franchise owners themselves when they see these women doing this amazing work where they get to be part of an organization and they realize that they'd like to jump off and do their own thing. It just becomes a ripple effect of women showing other women what's possible.
Spot on.
Yeah. Okay. So in the last few minutes, what do our podcast listeners need to know going forward about what's in the works for CPA Moms that we need to know about?
So many exciting things are happening right now. We actually, Dawn and I co-authored our first ever CPA Moms ebook, which is about fast starting your CPA practice. And, we poured so much of our love into that book, and we have that now available to those of you who've ever considered, maybe you're just going to dip your toe in or just think about Do I want to go out on my own? Is this the right time? Maybe you've had that dream, you've kept it close to your heart, and you haven't maybe even dared to consider it. This book should give you some idea of what it would look like and strategies for doing that. And so that's now available under $10. It's one of those, like, pick it up and read it today. You can get that at cpamoms.com/ebook. The other thing that I'm super, super excited about is the first ever annual CPA MOMS Cares Conference. It's being held on Monday and Tuesday in San Diego, beautiful San Diego, California, at one of the best resorts in the county called Paradise Point. And it's going to be on November 14th and 15th, 2022, 2 days. And what I love about this event, and I'll just say this briefly, and you'll have more opportunity to learn more about it soon, is that this has been a vision of mine for over 10 years, that I wanted to have an event where all these CPAs that are moms could come together and feed each other power and go to this event where you fill your tanks. We have lots of CPE related technical training conferences in our industry, and really good ones, well attended, but I don't know of anything in our industry that gives an opportunity for accounting professional women, moms, who can come and be filled up beyond knowledge and technical things. I don't know about you, go to some of these things and my brain is exploding, and then I have more work to do when I get back than when I left. There's a place for that, and everyone wants to continue to sharpen their saw, and I totally advocate for that. And yes, we want to give new knowledge and learning, but we want to focus more on the one thing that I think our community needs more than anything else right now, after 2 years of the global pandemic and having mostly professional working moms. I think, other than, the first responders and our medical industry, I think right behind that, you're talking about moms that are professional working moms being most impacted, losing your childcare, your educational system, play, you're losing your kids to the technology that you had to give into because there was no other option. There was so much stress. And then on top of that, being an accountant and basically becoming the government's free labor for all things COVID and PPP and EIDL, it was such an overwhelming 2 years that I think that there's so many women walking around with mild undiagnosed PTSD from the effects of all of this. And so we wanted these 2 days at the CARE Conference to be the 2 days that are the 365 days out of the year that 365 days a year, you are pouring yourself into your kids, into your spouse, into your families, into your communities, into your clients, in your jobs, everywhere. You are giving till there's barely anything left for you. And these 2 days out of 365 days of the year, we're asking you to come and join us so that we can fill your tank, so that we can care about you, so that instead of coming with all this stuff to do, you come filled up on every single level, and that you can be and feel and experience the sisterhood that Dawn spoke about, that you can connect with us, you can connect with some amazing trainers and speakers and be inspired and know your value, know your power, know that you're not alone, and that we have this incredible community here to support you. So we're inviting any CPA who's a mom, especially those of you who are thinking about going out on your own and you're really just nervous about the idea, to come meet some of the franchise owners face to face, come break bread with us, drink a glass of wine if that's your thing, and really come to get empowered, come to get filled up. Let us show you how we take care of our community. And, we are excited for our first ever annual event. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to cpamoms.com/events. And we'd be so delighted and excited to have you there. And we have some really exciting things coming to share about exciting promotions and things for those who sign up early. So wait to see some of that information coming soon.
All right. I'll be sharing more about that in upcoming podcast episodes. So thank you so much. I know you're a busy CEO. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing what's happened since the 100th episode. And I couldn't think of a better person to celebrate the 200th episode of the CPA MOMS podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for so much of what you do to this community, empowering all of these moms with your gifts and your talents. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Thanks. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like what you heard, be sure to click subscribe on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. At CPA Moms, we pride ourselves on being the e-harmony of the accounting world, making it possible for business owners to have their accounting needs met by amazing CPAs that are moms just like you. Whether you are an accountant interested in growing your own solo mompreneur business, or perhaps you are looking for flexibility to work from home, or maybe you are looking to grow your current firm or team, CPA Moms has what you are looking for. Check us out at cpa-moms.com.